Good afternoon, dear students. Welcome to next session of Insights into Audit, Bridging Theory with Practice. Right? We have commenced this journey on 21st January with preliminary audit engagement activities. Thereafter, we have covered audit strategy, audit planning, audit program, and continuing with that, we have also understood risk assessment and internal control evaluation. Now, today's session is on very important and crucial topic, because what auditor's role is to give audit report, and on which basis sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. So about audit evidence we are going to learn in today's session, and the session is divided again into two parts. First, today we are having, and next is on 14th February, same 4 to 6 p.m. Right? So we are having a very learned faculty. She is having vast experience in auditing. CA Padma Shri Krashto. She is a partner with audit and assurance practice at MS Casey and Associates. She is also heading the corporate legal function, head of monitoring and remediation of the firm. She operates out of Mumbai office and having 21 year over 21 year of extensive experience in practicing audit services and leading audit quality initiates. She is having industry expertise including insurance, financial services, and manufacturing, and she is also responsible in a firm for coordination and conduct of all regulatory reviews and global reviews. She is also part of global quality review team. So we are having a very learned faculty, as I mentioned you, that she possesses in-depth knowledge of standards on auditing, both Indian and international quality standards, that is ISQM 1 and 2, SQC 1, methodology, IFRS, company law, accounting standard, Ind AS, IFRS, IPO related matters, and other company law, other statutes. She also has expert knowledge of audit tools. She was also involved in development of audit tools for Center for Audit Quality Directorate also. She is a proficient speaker, imparting session on professional interest and audit tools within the firm and various forums, and she have delivered number of sessions in the since she acquired her membership. She is special invitee to Ethical Standard Board of ICI, co-opted member of double ASB of WIRC, member of FRRG, past special invitee to the Auditing and Assurance Standard Board of ICI. She has also worked with Center for Audit Quality Directorate ICI, and she is presently also working on various topics with CAQD, had worked on various study groups like non-company affairs, preparation of study material, IFRS 17, etc. She is technical reviewer of FS, member of Accounting and Auditing Standard Committee of Chamber of Tax Consultant from 2 years. She has also contributed to various publication of ICI and WIRC like non-company financial statements, insider trading, NAFRA order compilation, etc. Apart from the same, she has been awarded the title of Star Woman of WIRC by WIRC of ICI in March 2024. So I think I have tried to cover all, but we are I would have spoken much more about her, but we have to back to our session on audit evidence. So not taking much of the time, since the purpose of this training program was insight into audit, that bridging theory with practice. So since you are the students who are not having practical experience, and the learned faculty is having vast experience in the subject, right? To bridge that gap, we have initiated this training program, and we are having a learned faculty, CA Padma Shri. Padma Shri, over to you for the session, as students are waiting for your experiential learning to be shared with them. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks to the Board of Studies. Thanks, Karuna, for the kind introduction. So I will just share the screen. Obviously, this session is not more about PPT, but more about interaction. So number one, I would like to make the session as much as interactive as possible. We will take pauses in between to ask for any questions. And also, I will request you to participate in few of the questions that I will be asking, right? So, that's the overview. Audit is a very interesting profession, and if you have a crowd of many people, just to give an example, when you go for any social gathering, when you go anywhere, so when people are talking about, say, for example, some manufacturing, and if you are into a profession of only building something, then maybe you can talk only about that. If you are into a finance function, you can only talk about that. But auditor is a person who can be part of any of these groups, because we understand a little bit about all the industries which we have audited. Over a period of time, audit is also interesting in terms of you have n number of stories, n number of case studies, and you have a lot to share, and every day you keep discovering something or the other. So interesting things, and also responsible and accountable role as well. I think you all have already um, passed the planning stage, you have passed the audit strategy stage, and then you are now coming to the audit evidence stage, right? So, just to understand, how much time do you think we should be spending in planning of the audit? How much time in terms of percentage? I'm not talking in terms of hours. So how much percentage should we be spending in planning rather than execution? Example, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 70%. What do you think? Can we get some quick answers, I don't know, in the chat, or in the writing board, whatever facility we have? Karuna ji?
Yeah, they send to us through portal only, so we are
Okay.
receiving on that. Yeah,
Sure.
but of
So what
course
is the
it takes
percentage?
2-3 minutes, like when it
Yeah,
is live, and yeah,
yeah,
that much
sure.
gap is,
So we'll
yeah.
give give some time. How much time? There are a lot of activities in planning that you all have learned, right? So from identifying the risk, for mapping the control, understanding the entity, understanding the internal control and all that stuff, and then deciding on the audit strategy. So till that stage, what do you think? What is the percentage of time that you have to spend out of the total number of hours that you will do the audit?
One student is writing 20.
Okay, good thought. Any more thoughts? You can take your guess. It's completely fine. There is nothing right or wrong here. You can take your guess. Okay, 20%. So that's a understanding answer. But largely, when we speak about the world at large and look at so many standards and stuff like that, and how we have to plan, what we have to do, it is generally said that 50 to 60% of time is
Student
something
has written 50%.
wonderful.
Geeta has
So
written, yeah.
yeah, that's absolutely, in line with what the world thinks. So 50 to 60% is a good answer. 50 to 60% if you spend in planning, then you will succeed, in the sense that you will do a better audit. So just to correlate that with the exam schedule. We don't go for the exam after studying for few hours or few days, and then we don't jump into the conclusion of writing an exam. We do a lot of preparation. A lot of preparation, maybe including, we are choosing a good class, uh, choosing a good professor, taking some notes from the other friends, collating all information, looking at the trends, looking at the suggested answers, looking at the past questionnaires. So all these things is nothing but like your planning, right? And then we sit on to study, and that is execution, and ultimately we give the exam, which is the outcome. So in terms of audit, if I have to equate, this is the type of preparation that you do to actually conduct the audit, and then you have to succeed. So risk identification is the heart of the methodology. Why do I say that? Because risk identification is something that is very, very important. One important thing is that you have to understand the audit if you have to understand the business, if you have to do the audit, right? So let me give some example. Okay, if you have to audit an insurance company, just based on your understanding, right? What are the things that you have to know before you audit any insurance company, for example? What are the things that you have to understand? Any answer is good answer. There is nothing right or wrong answer here. If you have to, tomorrow you are plotted for a insurance company audit. So what is it that you need to understand, or where will you start? Any thoughts? Any thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay. So you will first start understanding the industry. What does that industry has? How does that industry operate? You will connect with friends, you will read something, you will research something, and then go into it. So once you do the planning, then we are coming to audit evidence. So what is audit evidence? It's a jumbled up thing of all these things, right? What is this? There are lots of methods to actually collect evidence or obtain audit evidence. We never talk about create audit evidence. We cannot create audit evidence. It is obtaining of audit evidence. So there are lots of evidences in the form of vouchers, bills, confirmations. There are lots of methods like test of control, substantive procedures, a test of details. There are different things like physical verification, verification of supporting, whatever the company has filed with the regulator, whatever is the inspection report, internal audit, cost audit, secretarial audit, whatever is the agreement that they have gone through, what are the observations, what are the inquiry procedures, and everything. So there is a lot that goes into concluding one audit. May it be a small audit or may it be a larger audit. So the complex size, nature, and complexity. So three things. When we are talking about audit, we need to talk about a few things, that is sufficient appropriate audit evidence, right? Size, nature, complexity. What are the auditing standards that are relevant for this is 500, which is audit evidence, 501, which is specific consideration for selected items, external confirmation, initial audit engagement, opening balances, analytical procedures, audit sampling, or accounting estimate, related disclosures, then related parties, subsequent event, going concern, and return representation. All these are very, very important standards, and these actually help us to do the audit more practically. Okay. What is sufficient appropriate audit evidence? So we have three important things when we talk about sufficient appropriate audit evidence. One is relevance, reliability, and integrity. So this is all base theory. I'll not get you bored with more of theory, obviously. So want to understand what is relevance. So relevance, I will give some examples, and I would expect some examples from you all on the chat box or the Q&A box. Okay, relevance. What is relevant in one case may not be relevant in another case. What we generally say is audit is never 1 + 1 = 2. Okay, so it is 1 + 1 can be any answer because it is highly subjective, right? So relevance, what is relevant? If I am doing audit of sales, what is relevant? Sales order is relevant, quantity is relevant, sales invoice is relevant. What more can be relevant? What is more relevant? What more can be the relevance, right? There are a lot of things that may be relevant. If I am doing audit of sales, what is it that I need to look into?
For your earlier query, also, of course, we have received PSU listed, C&AG, and
Very
then
good.
Hima Bindu written regulatory body, law applicable, and Prashant Jain is writing regulatory framework, nature of business. So it takes actually time. So
Yeah.
we can, yeah.
No worries, no worries. No, that's a very good attempt. I think they have listed down everything that is necessary, and everything that is there actually as a part of the overall audit. There is IRDA regulation, that is the BIMA regulation, the CAG directives, if at all you are doing audit of companies like LIC, GIC, and then there are other laws and regulations which are like Companies Act and other stuff. Very good. Yeah. So the relevance of the audit, when we are doing audit of all these sales, then we are looking at various aspects of sales, and what is relevant to sales are like sales order, quantity, what is being sold, what is the price, and what is the invoicing and the other mode of delivery. That means whether it is a service, whether it is a product, whether what is it that it is necessary. Now, second, when we talk about the sufficient appropriate audit evidence, so the next thing is reliability. Is that evidence reliable? How do you know the reliability? We all always, when we talk about, even when we talk about a smallest of the thing, when we talk about a message that gets received, first thing that we check is this reliable? So someone tomorrow tells you that exam is postponed or preponed or whatever. So first thing that you look at is that whether this is reliable. So when you look at the audit evidence, the first thing that you have to look at is the relevance, then the reliability, whether this is reliable. That means whether it is coming from a proper person, whether the source is authentic, whether I should believe it or not believe it. So if you have any question, then you cannot actually directly rely upon. You will have to do your test, and then only you can rely upon. And anyways, you cannot never directly rely upon. You always have to have the questioning mind. One thing that is very important is that auditor should always have the questioning mind. Do not accept anything at the face value. Integrity, data should never be compromised, or it should not be pilfered, or it should be any kind of damage to the data should not be there. So it has to be the absolute clear data. Okay. Let me give
Yeah. Three replies: HSN, debtors,
yeah.
GST day, GST, comma date, comma authorized documents.
Okay.
Kashish, Geeta, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, that's for the sales process. Thanks for that. Okay. So all the examples that I am giving is like maybe whatever each of us have experienced in the past, or some of our friends have shared some case studies, something that has happened somewhere, anything. Okay. Now, there is for example, there is a company which is actually um, doing some toll collection. Okay. So now when I speak about toll collection, just for the moment, go back in time for a couple of years. We have FASTag now. Earlier, the toll collections used to happen physically. So there is a lot of cash involved. So you stop over there, you give the cash, you take the you take the change, and then you move on. So there are agencies or there are companies who used to collect this kind of cash. Okay. So now, when you go for a cash verification at such places, right? So when you go for cash verification, what is it that we should look for in terms of relevance, reliability, and integrity? If I have to combine all the three, so in the example, I will add to it that at the end of the day, every day there is a cash report that is generated, right? And the people will go and deposit the cash next day morning. So this still happens at some of the retail stores. Not everyone buys with a UPI or a card. There are cash involved, and this is the normal practice that at the end of the day, cash is collected, it is counted, a report is generated, and then next day morning it gets deposited. Or on the same day in the evening, late evening, the bank personnel comes and then collects the money, and then he deposits, and then he gives the deposit slip. So I have given many clues. So I'll pause for maybe 30 seconds and request you all to think about what is it that you will look for in terms of relevance, reliability, and integrity. Considering all the 3 points, how do you, what is it that you will look for? Happy to hear any answers. Just for the sake of brevity, it is a cash collection in a toll or in a retail store. Cash sales happen every day. At the end, there is a cash report that is generated. and then there is deposit into the bank. What is it that you will look for in terms of relevance, reliability, and integrity? Anything we got, Karunaji?
Not till. Just let me refresh. Maybe. Internal control.
Internal control. Okay.
Maybe receiving many more, but
Yeah, it will take time to refresh, right?
yeah.
So if I have to elaborate on internal control, that's a good point. So who prepares it, who reviews it, who deposits it, and whether the cash that is collected is matching the cash that is getting deposited. That is internal control, and who is tallying it. So for any document, there cannot be one preparer and he cannot be the same reviewer. There has to be a different preparer, different reviewer. And then if a third person is going for depositing, then it has to be stamped or ensured that it is deposited. And the ultimate control or the reliability that will be, yeah.
Person collecting and report generating person are different. Controls,
Yes.
operating, bank statement, sale invoice. Then Geeta, whether control is appropriate.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is what I was explaining, that the relevance is seen by the relevance is the document that is relevant is the cash generated report, the cash report. Then what is more relevant is the bank deposit slip. Then the reliability is when the preparer has signed it, the reviewer has signed it properly. Integrity is that it is not pilfered or it is not actually amended without authority. And different person preparer and different person reviewer is something that we call as SOD, segregation of duties, right? And these things are relevant for you to make that audit evidence. You can take that audit evidence if all these three things are there. Another example in terms of integrity and reliability, right? System generates a report of day-wise sales. Okay, so there is a sales counter, say for example, of an entity. Say for the sake of example, let us take that the company is selling some ready-made goods. You can think of anything that is a normal dedicated chain of goods. Say for example, some eatery or something. So system at the end of the day generates a report of sales that has happened during the year. So there are, let us take an example. It is outside one of the suburban stations in Mumbai. It has a lot of customers every day. So there is a bill that is generated for each of the sales that is happened. For the sake of brevity, let us take some Frankie or a vada pav shop. So every day it is having so many this thing. At the end of the day, it is generating a report. Okay. Now, the system had an issue in between. Okay, so it skipped adding some of the sales during one of the days, and then someone had to at the end of the day tally that, because because the system was not properly working, he had to keep a manual record of how much sales he has made. Now, is the system report that has come on the day reliable, and whether the integrity of the report can be trusted? Relevance, yes, it is sales record. It is relevant for me for the purpose of audit. But the other two factors, reliability and integrity, whether I am okay to rely on it and whether the integrity of the document is properly maintained or not maintained. So two specific questions, whether the reliability is okay and whether the integrity is okay, to be very simplistic. Any responses?
Yeah. Relevance means the evidence that contain all the aspects that prove authority and correctness, fairness of the matter. She's saying I try to define my in my own words, Minakshi.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's very good. That's very good attempt. In the given case, is the evidence reliable? Is the integrity okay?
Geeta is saying no, I don't know for what.
Yeah, I think for this question, they are saying no, maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah. So the
And huh.
relevance, yeah, so the relevance is still there, but I think the reliability has been lost because the system skipped some entries. And there is an issue with the system. There is a glitch, technical glitch with the system. And integrity, it still is very much questionable because you have to take a report from the system, then you have to add less and things like that, and then you have to ultimately end up getting the day sales. So it is not very reliable, and the integrity of the report cannot be 100% taken at the face value. So these are again normal usual things that you will ask. So when you are doing an audit of sales, so first thing is you will ask, how does the sale happen, right? And I'll just go to the next slide before I come back to this. You know, inquiry. What is inquiry? Tell me. How does the sale happen in your company? So the person has read a lot. He is very knowledgeable. He comes and tells you, okay, I know how sales happen. I have read all the theory. So he will give you a good, nice theory about how sales happen. Sales order is raised, then it goes to second person, he approves it, then the third person raises a tender, then the quotations come in, then I actually close in the quotation, and then we select the lowest quotation, then it is approved, authorized, then we take a deposit from the people, and then we order for the goods, then there is a quality check, and ultimately the goods receiving note is done, and then we have the sales invoice, and this is how sales is done. So he has read the theory well, and he explains to you completely. Are you going to rely on it as a part of audit? You cannot rely on the basis of only inquiry. So you go to the next step, right? So what is the next step? You go to observation, right? So when you talk about observation, you say show us. So you will take one sample and then you do a walkthrough. What is a walkthrough? You go from the start to the end of the process. So you told me that a sales order gets generated. Show me the sales order. Okay. You told me that one person prepares it, one person actually approves it. Show me who has prepared, who has approved. Okay. And while doing this, you should already know that who is supposed to prepare and who is supposed to authorize. So that you have to have as a document. Then the third step, you said we raise a tender. I said, okay, show me the tender. How is it raised? Is it given to everyone or is it given to select people? If it is given to select people, why? Then you go to the next step and then say, okay, show me all the quotations that you have received. And then show me what is it that is the lowest quote that you have taken. Then show me the approval. Then goods received note, you will actually tally the quantity and the quality check if it has happened. You will do that, and then you will ultimately see the sales invoice, whether the sales invoice is received. So this is end-to-end chain of one document, which is nothing but called as a walkthrough, wherein you don't get any kind of assurance, but then this is something that you will have to do for each type of transaction. So this is the starting point of obtaining evidence that whatever you have told me, given me very big, speech on how sales happen, everything is happening. Now, what happens here? When you actually ask them, they will give you a lot of theory, but in practical, it may not be happening like that at all. So the process may be deviating, or there may be flaws in the process, or the controls are not properly working. Anything may happen, and that you will note down. And then, if it is a major deficiency, then you will put it into your report. If it is not, then you will come back and actually do the verification of the process, right? Then you will ultimately go to inspection, examination of the record. So when we are at step 1 and step 2, this is what we call as design and implementation of any of the controls. So this is D and I of any of the controls. And when we go to step 3, that is when we use our sampling calculator to test, in the sense that we check whether these things are properly happening in terms of the test of controls or test of details or anything else. So this is very essential: inquiry, observation, inspection. These are the very important ways of obtaining audit evidence. Without this, audit does not exist. Okay. Inquiry, observation, inspection is very much a foundation and very much required, and this is the foundation of the entire audit. Now, what will you do if he told you that a sales order gets generated and then I actually issue it as a tender, and then no tender is actually anywhere issued? So is this something that you will think about, or you will go to the next step directly? So what is it that you are going to do here? What will you do here if if the company has not raised a tender and he has told you that there is a process of tendering? What will you do? Is it okay? Is it not okay? Any answers?
Maybe on the way.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So basically, if there is a flaw in the process, as I mentioned, maybe it is a definitive flaw. If there is an alternate process, then you can look at it. Or if not, then you will actually go into the next thing. That is the next step of the process. Okay. In relation to that, let me come to the three-way match.
Discuss with management.
Yeah,
One has
discuss with
written.
management is absolutely correct. Yeah. I will represent my screen because I had to open a document. Okay, so yes. So basically this is number one, which is the three-way match of purchase. Okay, this is an important process. What do we do? Three-way match. What is three-way match? Whatever is your purchase order, the quantity in the purchase order has to match with the goods receipt note, and then you have to actually look at the invoice as well. So when do you raise a purchase order? When do you raise a purchase order? Purchase order is raised when you have deficient quantity. Deficient quantity means you need 100 units of cotton for the purpose of production of for the production of some thread, right? So there is a reorder level, something called as a reorder level. So every raw material is set at a reorder level by the system in the company. Now no one does it manually anymore, obviously. So there is a reorder level that is set. So when you have that reorder level and it goes below, say 90, then the system generates a purchase order. So how does the system generate? There will be a SAP system or the ERP system. It automatically generates a purchase order, and then it goes to a person in the purchase department who is supposed to look at it, check it, and then authorize it. And then when the system actually generates it, then someone authorizes it when the purchase order gets generated. Then what happens? The purchase order gets generated. You need to have a tendering system, and then you will ask for the purchases, or you have your regular purchases whom you have already tied up with, right? And then you will order those, and then you receive, and that goods will come into your factory. Then a goods receipt note is prepared, and then ultimately you will receive an invoice for the purpose of payment. So this is how a purchase order will largely look at, right? Purchase order will generally have Where does these things come from? So the basic details, obviously a little bit blurred out, but then basic details like name of the entity raising it, to whom it is getting raised. If you have fixed vendors, it will get demarcated for the products. Just to give you an example, you have four raw material, for example. Say if you are into a cement industry, then you have four raw materials. One is clinker, one is limestone, then there is some certain chemicals, and then another agent. So you have these four raw materials. Now, for certain items like a clinker and a limestone, you generally have a fixed supplier because these are controlled, or these are not freely available in the market. So you have a pre-decided purchase rate. Now, who puts in the pre-decided purchase rate? Yes, these are the things that you will have to check when you are checking the purchases. So you start with a step one. Where is the agreement with the supplier? Who are the suppliers? Number one, who are the suppliers? So make a list of suppliers. Okay. And then these are out of the list. You will have preferred supplier and you will have other supplier. That means preferred is first choice goes to them, then the rest of it. That may be depending on the type of the product. So you look at the list of the purchases, right? And from the list of the suppliers, then you look at the price that is agreed with. So you will have a agreement. So verify the agreement and then make noting. So when you do the verification of the agreement, you will do noting. Okay, this is the party. So there will be some price that is maybe slab wise it is decided. For 10 ton, it will be say 5,000 per ton, 10 to 20 ton, it will be 10,000 per ton and things like that. So agreement will have various terms and conditions. And then there will be payment terms also, like you have to pay me within 30 days because I'm a MSME, 45 days because I'm of this category, everything. So you have to make a small note of all the conditions in the agreement. Take that agreement. Now that is what you will do in the show me stage, that is inquiry observation. So the second stage you will do all these things. So you will list down the supplier, you will make noting of everything, then you go and check into the system that purchase order, what is the level set for the purchase order? Is it 100 units? Is it 90 units? If it is 90 units, okay, then a purchase order is getting generated. For which product, you will have to check that. What is the rate? Rate is predetermined with the supplier, so it has to capture the proper rate. If there is a mistake in this is what we call as control deficiency. So if there is a mistake in that, so always understand this way, that in case of control, if one entry goes wrong, everything goes wrong, right? And if one entry is right, everything is right, if there are no exceptions or any system issues. So what you will do is that you will look at the pre-decided rates, you will look at what is the quantity that is generated, what is the rate that is generated, and then you will see whether the purchase order is properly generated by the system, and then whether it is approved by the system, by the necessary person, right? So once this gets approved, then you will have the tendering process or whatever, then you will look at it and then you receive the goods. Once you receive the goods, this is how the goods received note looks like. So you receive the goods at the factory, what time, what day, what was the vehicle number, what is the quantity. Now please understand, goods receiving note will never have amount, it will only have quantity, and it will have the mode of delivery. It can be physical delivery. That means some truck or some other means, train or anything that you are getting a delivery from, or it can be a virtual delivery in terms of consignment or something. So someone else is providing to you. So there will be categories of delivery that they will actually do that. If in case of truck, they will even mention the vehicle number and the number of loads or the number of quantity, and then it will be authorized by the gatekeeper as well as the factory person who actually receives the goods, right? So once the goods receive note and the quality check is made, now quality check is a non-financial control. But however, if the quality is not good, then the goods will get returned, and when the goods get returned, actually, you will not be taking it in, and then you will raise a debit note accordingly, right? Then this is something like a purchase invoice. So purchase invoice will have all the essentials of the purchase invoice. like the name, the GST number, the HSN codes, everything, and the quantity and the type and the rate and everything. And then it will have a total, and it will also have a cross reference to your purchase order number. So this is a three-way match. What do we mean by a three-way match? The purchase order number that is mentioned over there in the purchase invoice has to match with the purchase order. Okay, and also it has to have the same quantity like the goods received note. Now two cases is possible. One is that against one purchase order, because the company is a very large company and there is a big purchase order that gets generated, say for example for 10 tons. Okay, now 10 tons cannot come, maybe it's not possible to send at one shot. So there are 1 or 2 tons each time in a lorry that are being sent. Okay, so you can have multiple purchase invoices against one purchase order. So there is one purchase order for 10 tons. You will have 2 to 3 lorries or 10 lorries for the purpose of delivering that goods. So you will have 5 to 10 goods received note, and you will have 5 to 10 purchase invoices based on this, or one single purchase invoice also. So there can be a combination of one purchase order, multiple goods received note, and one purchase invoice, or reverse way, one purchase order, multiple goods received note and multiple purchase invoice. And it is also possible that there can be one purchase invoice against 10 purchase orders. So there are lots of purchase order. There are systems where the company actually, the other company, that means the sending company, the supplier, actually generates invoice once in a month. So you will have one purchase at the time of this. Now what is it that you are going to check? Now you don't actually, these are not the days where you physically take all these things and check, but then for a number of sample you will have to do that. And what do? You will check the purchase order number, the date, who authorized it, goods received note, who authorized it, the details of the quantity, and then also the purchase invoice you will match. So this is the three-way match. If the company is using a SAP system, then this three-way match is built into the system. So someone will ask, like, what is it that you are going to audit? So you have to audit whether the system is then doing the three-way match properly by taking a sample of this. So that is actually verification of automated control. So when we are actually talking about two things, one is verification of manual documents and verification of automated documents. If what is that? When you are inputting something into the system and system is performing certain things, then you have to see whether the system is rightly doing it. When you go to the company practically for the purpose of audit, you often hear this from the company that can I see this? They will tell you that this is done by the system. Can I see this? They will tell you this is done by the system. So sometimes you feel like asking, then what are you doing? Right? So, but then you will have to, in that case, see whether the system is doing properly. Okay. Another example is that you do a bank audit. For example, bank gives loans to 100 people. Okay, in a branch. Just to make an example. Now, for 100 people, it won't give loan at the same rate, because your interest rate will depend on various things. Your income, your type of, credit score, your assessment, your previous repayment, this thing. So there are a number of cases. So maybe the interest rate from the bank ranges from 10 to 14%. Out of the 100, say 5 people are given at 4%, 5 people are given at 4.8%, and so on and so forth. So there is a system that, based on the conditions and the credit assessment that you put in, the percentage or the interest percentage gets generated. Now, when you go and inquire the personnel that what is it that and how do you determine the interest, so he will show you a big matrix saying that condition number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I get positive everywhere, I'll get low rate of interest. If I get some indications of non-payment, if I get some indications that the person is a defaulter and stuff like that, then you get a higher percentage. Okay, so now if you inquire that person, he will only say that I take the percentage from the system and I use it, and then I make the agreement, because system will generate the agreement, purchase agreement, and then it will embed all these factors. No one writes the agreements by hand, obviously, or none of the percentages are written by hand. Once the percentage is determined, and the respective person authorizes the percentage, agreement becomes self-generated. The agreement gets generated and the person actually signs it. The other person is the borrower, signs it. So how do you determine the percentage? So then it will be important for you not to check that 4.5% generated by the 10.5% generated by the system is in the agreement. That is not very important. How does the system determine 10.5%? That is very important question. Point number one. Point number two, when the system is generating 10.5%, is the person authorizing 10.5% or is he able to change? Okay, say for example, branch manager is able to change. If the branch manager is able to change, why does he change? How does he change? What is the explanation, justification for the change? Okay, these are the questions that you have to ask. There is no point matching 10.5 in the system to the 10.5 in the agreement. It is going to be the same, right? That is where the professional skepticism or the questioning mind comes into picture to ask 10.5 is generated by the system. He changed it to 10.3 by writing the justification. So you are not, if one, you ask the question how 10.5 got generated, and then you ask a report for what is the system generated rate vis-a-vis someone else changing the rate. Okay. Say for example that branch manager is in collision with another person and then he says, okay, you pay me 5%, I will make it 8% interest rate. And what is the justification that he has written? Okay, so that is where your questioning mind should come into place. In the similar way, if the purchase order actually is generated with a rate card of, picking from the system, of say 25 rupees per kg, then does anyone have the right to change that 25%, 25 rupees is something that is very important. If there is a change that is possible to the 25 rupees, who does it? What are the circumstances under it is done? Is there any additional approval? Is it appropriate? Is the question that you have to ask. System is generating 25. I am fine with 25 is not the question. How does system generate 25? System has a logic to generate 25 on the basis of last 3 purchase bill, last 5 purchase bill, or a weighted average of the last month's purchase bill. It will generate 25. Check that whether the 25 is properly getting generated. If there is a change to that 25, check whether that is proper or not. In case of goods received, check whether the quality check has been made, though it is non-financial control. If there is any return of goods, check whether a debit note has been raised or not, right? These are the places where actually you can misutilize the system, or which we call as fraud. Fraud is not something that is only taking away money. Fraud is everything that is done with a mal intention or a wrong intention. It can be misappropriation of asset. It can be doing something wrongful within the system to hurt the company, to hurt any individual in the company, not personal, I'm talking about from the company's angle, or to misappropriate any fund, any asset. What is an asset? Asset can be inventory, raw material, chair, table, anything. Misappropriation of asset can be anything. So if there is an intention to deceive, that is very important. When we do the audit, when we obtain the audit evidence, and when we actually test the audit evidence, we have to keep our eyes and ears open for any frauds and any kind of wrong things or anything that is off. So something that very important that I'll share with you, that sometimes you get into a place, or you get into a company, you do certain tests and you are comfortable because you know how the things work and there are less of exceptions. Some of the companies, come what may, you keep doing n number of things but you never get satisfaction because once you do this test, you will get something else, you will get this test, you will get something else. So there are lots of frauds that you read in the newspapers also, right? So all these things can be done. So one example over here. Okay. So there was a purchase order. Company actually received some goods. The quality manager said that the quality is not good. It has to be returned. Okay. So there was a get note made to return some of the items. Say 100 quantity received, 20 items to be returned because they are not of good quality. Okay. But that gate pass or the gate note never passed through the system. So as such, 100 item came, 100 item is recorded. When at the end of the year physical verification is done, 20 item is short. Okay. Then while doing the reconciliation, someone came to know that 20 items have gone out. Okay, which is not recorded at all. Now what happened to the 20 item? Someone deliberately did not do an entry of the 20 item. They took it out. They sold it in the market for whatever price they got. Okay, and they took the benefit. So that is fraud, right? Not raising a proper debit note, using these things. So inventory at times in larger factories, sometimes there are some steel products and sometimes there are some sheets and stuff like that, which actually lie in the open. It doesn't need any shelter. So they lie construction material, all this stuff lie in the open. So people actually steal it, take away. That is also fraud because there is misappropriation of goods or misappropriation of company's asset. Right. So this is the three-way match. Alongside, I have given some examples, practical example of what is it and how do you have to check. Right. Uh, in case of, sorry, in case of, yeah, in case of imports, how do you check the, how do you check the, um, sorry, yeah, in case of imports, how do you check? One is, it is, when you receive the goods, that is when you import the goods from another country, there are certain documents that are very necessary. One we call is as, just give me 1 second. Yeah. So one thing that is very important is that uh, how is it that the import is being checked? So number one, there is a document called as country of origin document. So it is a certificate which says that which is the country from which the documents are which from which the goods are getting received. So it is very important to see that document, and that is very important document, and that is um, very important to actually verify that document. So they will have these contracts with the foreign parties also to import this, and then the um, we will have to check the additional document, something like a CHA document. CHA document is something we call as a clearinghouse agent document. Then you will have a clearance document, that is a customs clearance documents. So there will be a whole lot of bunch of documents. And then when you look at the country of origin and the import document, bill of entry. Bill of entry is when the documents, when the goods actually arrive into India, the goods will have to arrive at India, and that bill of entry will have the entire, maybe there are multiple bills of entries, for example, for one container when it comes from ship or something. It is very important to see bill of entry, what is the quantity and what is the quantity that they have received here. So it is not necessary that a whole containers goods have been received by only one entity. So there can be multiple consignments against one bill of entry, So there can be multiple clearinghouse agents bills and custom clearances against one bill of entry, and vice versa also. There may be multiple consignments, and then there can be multiple bills of entries also, right? That is how it is. You will have to look at all these documents. So this entire set of documents, if you actually look up for the working papers or the guidance note of the ICI, so we all do, though we have qualified long ago and we all do audit on the basis of experience, there are so many updates that are happening, there are so many changes to the system that are happening, that we have to keep referring to the technical guides and the guidance notes. So there is a guidance note on the basis of like how to do an audit of import, how to do an audit of export and all that. So generally we have, every firm has its own checklist, right? So it will give a checklist to the people to check whether all these things are there. And in systems like SAP or the ERP, it is possible that they will actually scan and put everything into the system, and then they have to tick against each of the things. So there is a list that is displayed on the system. When I say this is an import, then there is a list that is actually mentioned there only in the system. When I tick all of those, then I actually pass the import document, and then I will get the goods delivered at my gate, and then the other processes follows the similar. Then the ultimate thing in the three-way match is the purchase invoice and the payment. So payment terms you will have to look at whether it is MSME, non-MSME, and accordingly whether payment is made, whether interest is properly charged and stuff like that, and then you conclude your accounts payable. So end to end, when you look at a process, so audit is always planned in cycle, what we call as payable cycle, receivable cycle, or the revenue cycle, or the purchases cycle, the inventory cycle, the expenses cycle. So audit is always planned in a cycle but done in statement areas, like financial statement areas. So what do I mean by that? When we plan from start to end, what is it that we are going to do? And when we do the audit, we do audit of purchase, we do audit of payables, and then we do audit of receivables. So there is a lot to learn, and each piece has got its own unique way. Now, once you reach to the accounts payable level, then you will have to also look at the accounts payable, whether as on the balance sheet date they are appropriate or not. What do I mean by that? One, whether everything is genuine. That means all the proper bills are booked and there are no fake bills. That you will come to know by auditing the purchase, because that is the first leg of it, and payables is the second leg of it. And then whether payments have been duly made, right? Is the balance appropriate? Is there any balance which is actually beyond the limitation period? So limitation period is 3 years. If no one asks you for the money and you tried to reach the customer but you could never reach the customer, which is very rare case, so then that is a limitation period beyond which you write back your liability. So that is though rare, but it does happen. So you look at the assurance on the balance also, correct? So that is how you end to end do the purchase to payables in a very short and simple manner. Okay, so now I will take a pause for a few seconds, a minute or so, and request to please post any of your questions relating to maybe purchase. So the process for purchase to payables and expenses are almost similar because they both are, payment processes. In terms of expenses, you need to have all supportings. In case of, so expenses are divided into two pieces: operating expenses, employee expenses. If I am claiming something from my firm, which you all must be knowing, then I have to give some supportings. And based on that, someone else will approve, and then they will conclude on it, right? And if it is a operating expense, then the person who is in charge of that section, for example, the admin expenses. So there is a tea coffee expense. There is something like a stationery and printing. So the respective people will actually upload the necessary supporting, and then it ultimately gets booked as an expense. First, everything has to get booked as an expense, no direct payments. Even if you are using Tally, the booking of the expense has to be done. That means the provisioning has to be done. and then only the payment has to be done, because we are working on the basic system of accrual. So account and audit go hand in hand. Accounting is done as per the accounting standards of the Ind AS, and auditing is done as per the SA, right? So accounting has to be appropriate. So accrual system has to work. Accrual has to be done appropriately. So every bill that has come to my desk and the provisioning for the year end, I have to do. I have to enter everything into the system. I've entered 100 bills. I have paid 85 bills. So there is 15 that is pending, which is my liability, and the entire 100 gets into my P&L as an expense. So that's the process for the expense also. So purchase and expense are largely similar in most of the companies. Okay, so I would take a pause and request to post any questions or any thoughts or suggestions that you have had, or anything, any of the aspect that you want me to explain further. So I will take a pause for a few seconds, and I would request uh, you know uh, Karuna and her colleague to actually help me with any questions or any thoughts that have.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Till now, there are no questions, but I'll let you know.
Yeah, so I'll wait for a while for getting any question. Anything that has come up?
Not yet. Yeah, Minakshi is writing. We want to know the technical side of evidence in auditing, the tools and techniques that works effectively and reduces workload and enhances reliability.
Okay, great question. I will come to that in a while. So I will take a pause for that question. I have a specific, slide to explain, like how does AI reduce your work, and also how does tools reduce your work. So we'll take you through that a little bit more in detail. So I will, for now, I will rest that question. If I do not answer it again, I think you can remind or something.
Yeah. There's one more question. Why certificate of origin is important in case of import and export?
Yeah, okay, that's relevant. So, the important thing is um, certificate of origin. Why it is important? Because certificate of origin, actually the country can only issue, or the authorized body in the country can issue. So your imports, actually, you are aware that it is getting imported from some country, and which country. And when you have these agreements and stuff like that, say for example, the other party is a related party, or even though if it is not a related party, okay, it is very important to establish. There will be tax treaties. There will be double taxation avoidance stuff and things like that, and then payment repatriations. There are certain terms and conditions. You will have to know the forex that is payable. What is the type of forex that is necessary, and above all, you need to establish. So you have made a agreement with a supplier. So agreement with a supplier is like, in a simple term, it is quite easy to see an agreement with a supplier that, okay, I will purchase 100 unit from you every month and things like that. but it is not so easy because there are different types of purchases that can be made and sales that can be made. Something like a high C sales, something like a a supplier is sitting in some other country, but the goods are arriving from some other country. So you have a contract with the supplier over there, and then there are tripartite contract with the supplier, the consignee, and the consignor. So that is possible. And most importantly, when you are getting any there are certain duty and subsidies, duty disbursements and subsidies that are available on certain imports and certain categories and from certain countries. So in order to claim, the base is the bill of entry and the certificate of origin. So with the bill of entry, you will always find a country, certificate of origin, because uh, from the time I want to put my goods for sale onto a ship or onto a flight or onto any mode of transport to send it to another country. If I want to send it to another country, it has to be accompanied by a certificate of origin. Okay, that like this is made in India, this is made in UK, this is made in China, whatever. So that certificate of origin is very, very important to prove that this is an import or an export. So same thing goes for export. When I'm doing export, we will come to the sales cycle. So when we do the export, it is very important that it is an Indian thing that is getting exported. So there can be a position that I'm importing from another country and I'm exporting to another country. So that comes under resale or re-export kind of a category, which falls into a different type of duty and different type of bracket altogether. If I have to get the benefit of the export, which is made in India, and there is a lot of benefits if I'm exporting something from India, then that certificate of origin is necessary to be accompanied. And no ship, no container, no aircraft will export anything or import anything without a certificate of origin of the respective country, because that is an internationally required document also. This set of document that I explained is something that is based on international standards, and this is something that is every country needs this when the goods pass through. Any other thoughts or suggestions?
Student is
Anything else?
asking about that whether we will be discussing essay 505, 510, 530, 40, 60, 70. So,
Yeah.
so
So
our
this,
main, yeah, you please.
yeah. So in a way, all essays are encompassing certain principles. So we will touch upon all these principles of 505, 510, and 530 also.
560, 570 will be forming part of completion and review, beta.
560, 570, 580 is subsequent event and going concern and your management representation. That's largely about those things.
So that is separate series and will be covered in that. Yeah, you may continue.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nothing special.
Okay. Okay. Great. So 505, we will definitely touch upon 510 also, opening balances and things like that, right? So, okay. So this is about the purchase and the payable cycle, right? Then we can look at something like, what does this indicate? It is more of a shopping cart. So this is not purchase again, but this is more of a sale because you put the things into the cart, right? Again, sales begins with the generally they call it a 7-step process, 10-step process. In some of the companies, it can be 25-step process also. Bigger the company, many the products, there can be varied permutation combination. Again, sales also starts with sales order. So the way certain goods go lesser and then I place a purchase order, similarly, I will generate a sales order when someone else wants to send a purchase order to me, or I secure a contract with someone on the basis of a sales order. So again, sales order similarly will have what is the product, what is the type, what is the quantity, what is the rate that I have agreed, and the things like that. And then I will generate the sales order again based on SOD, that is the segregation of duties. Someone will authorize and someone will maker checker concept will exist, and then someone will be authorizing this. Now, once I generate a sales order, along with sales order, I will also have an agreement with the customer. Similarly. So when I have the agreement with customer, then if I have, so there are different types of agreements. Number one, I want 100 quantity every month. Okay. So that is option number one. Okay, so I want 100 quantity every month. So I have a definitive sales order that I can generate every month without even looking at it twice. Right? So that is option number one. Then second, this is the first time customer, so I am supposed to generate a sales order. So something that is routine, you can check it from the agreement. So if I have an agreement and if I have an obligation to generate 100 ka sales order every month, then it automatically put into the system. I put a frequency and it get generated if I'm using a good system. If not, then I know the date and I will keep generating the sales order. Right? If it is a first time customer, I will have to negotiate for the sale price, for the purpose of agreement, terms and conditions of the agreement, everything, and then I finalize the sales order. So I will do that. Then what I do is that I will send the goods, right? So I will come to bill of lading. I think this document got hidden. I'm sorry for that. Yeah. So the way that we have for the purpose of when we receive the goods, you have goods return, you have goods receipt note. The same thing when you send out, there is something called as a gate pass, right? So gate pass gets generated. So I have 2 trucks full of goods. Gate pass gets generated and that gate pass gets checked with the quantity and then it goes out of my, this thing, out of my gate of the factory. So it gets received by the other party. Okay, I'm talking about a simple arrangement. It gets received by the other party, and that is when I generate a sales invoice. He looks at it, he confirms the quality, and then I generate a sales invoice. Again, the funda remains the same. There can be one sale order, multiple gate pass, multiple invoice. There can be one sale invoice, multiple gate pass, multiple sales order. So that remains the same as we discussed in purchase, right? And this is bill of lading, something that we use for export. So for export, again, the standard things that you will have is again the origin certificate, the overall bill of lading, the way of transporting, how did it reach the port related documents, then you will have insurance and all that, and then you will complete the export sales. So invoice for the export sales and in domestic sales are slightly different in views and terms. Now, when we talked about sales, something that is very important is that we talked about, when we talked about purchase, we talked about, this thing, what we talked about the accrual basis, right? So every known liability I'm supposed to accrue, I'm supposed to account for. That is the basic funda. That is the basis of the accounting. Every known losses and expenses I will have to account for. So that is why purchases we are accruing. When we come to sales, so when we go to Ind AS 115, there are 5 distinct conditions, right? And when we go to AS, again, revenue is recognized only when you have reasonable, reasonable certainty, and also, sorry, not reasonable certainty, when you have the risk and the right passed on to the client. Now, what is the risk and the right? So goods have gone out of my gate. Is it goods? Is it risk and reward transferred or not transferred? So there are a number of situations, a number of cases in terms of this. So you will have to look at what is the revenue recognition and when do you recognize the revenue. Accordingly, for different types of things, you have different parameters, you have different types of variety of things that you will have to take care of. In case of Ind AS 115, Ind AS accounting, you will have to pass all the 5 conditions, then you will recognize revenue. In case of in any case, obviously the risk and reward is the most important underlying category to pass on, and then only you have to recognize revenue, and then you recognize the revenue. That means your invoice gets generated unless all the conditions of the sales are not fulfilled, right? So you have to have the clearance, you have to have the export bill, you need to have the gate pass, you need to have all the underlying documents, everything, and then you recognize the sale. So the customer has accepted it. So the risk and the reward gets transferred. Now, let me take a simple practical example. A company is selling tube lights and bulbs. Okay. Now that company is manufacturing all the light related material, means electric material, tube lights, bulbs, all this kind of thing. Okay. So now they send a load of say अभी tube light नहीं है, so फिर LED. Okay. So LEDs and bulbs and things like that in the truck, one full truck. Now, unfortunately, it meets with an accident. Now, what happens? The bulbs are obviously very fragile. Even though good packing or anything, because of the accident, they get damaged. Now, do I recognize the sales? Do I not recognize the sales? My question number 1, for which I need some answers. Do I recognize the sales or do I don't recognize the sales or the revenue? What do I do? Will I recognize the sales? Yes, no?
Not yet.
Okay.
Actually, it takes lots of time
Sure,
because
sure.
earlier also when you asked na, lot many answers we have received, but in the meantime you started with purchase order and that
No worries,
process.
no worries. Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah. Yes, recognize sales.
Okay,
Hema is telling.
okay. Any other thoughts?
Students, you need to be faster.
So the truck that the company sent is got damaged. So the goods have got damaged, and the truck met with an accident because of which the goods got damaged. So will you recognize sales or
Depends
no?
on the transfer of ownership.
Okay, very good diplomatic
Hema.
answer. I like. You will be a very good auditor.
Maybe when you'll be continuing, lot more will come.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so to clarify, I think that is the answer, that if the risk and reward is getting transferred, then you will recognize sales. So here in this case, the risk and reward, whether it is transferred, the risk is not yet transferred, right? And the reward is also not yet transferred. That means the customer has not acknowledged, and the the requisite condition to meet the sale has not yet happened. So there can be two arguments. One is, I have sent the goods, my job is done, it's gone out of my gate, so I should recognize revenue. Okay, even if you recognize revenue, okay, at the first instance, because it has gone out. Yeah. Sorry?
Gulika is saying these are goods lost, so we cannot recognize it as revenue. Samyanathan is saying based on the sale agreement, term of the sale, when the risk and reward is transferred, and collection certainty.
Yes, I think good thoughts, good thoughts. Yeah, very much. That's what I'm saying. When it has gone out of my school of thought number one is it has gone out of my gate, I can recognize revenue. But as per the agreement, the risk has been not been transferred and the reward has also not been transferred. Even if you recognize revenue at the first go, right? This is something that is very important to keep in mind as an auditor. At the year end, many companies tend to increase the sales. This is one of the audit risk. Like when you learnt about audit risk, you learnt about revenue recognition, right? So when you learnt about risk on revenue recognition, there can be two risks. One is overstating the revenue, understating the revenue. When you overstate the revenue, that means you want to show that I have achieved something because you want a better bank loan, you want your share prices to go up. Second, understating the revenue because you don't want to pay much taxes. So you are not actually correctly booking the revenue. Both things are not good, and you have to test for overstatement of revenue and understatement of revenue. So in the given case, number one, sales should not be booked, right? Because risk and reward has not been completely transferred. Second, it is goods in transit that is lost, right? Sales as part of goods in transit that is actually damaged or lost. If at all sales is booked, this is another important thing. At the year end, you will have to check all the goods that have been sent between the last 5 days, whether the risk and reward has all correctly passed on or not. If not passed on, then you will have to do the reversal of the sale, that is the sales return, and that last 5 to 10 days to last 5 to 10 days of the next period, whether the sale is correctly being booked or not, that check is something that we call as cutoff testing, which ensures completeness of the accounts or the completeness of the document of the accounting. What is completeness? Completeness means whether everything that is belonging to this period is getting booked in this period. For example, the company has a lawsuit, okay? It has some customer dispute. It has engaged a lawyer. So the lawyer has done 4 hearings and he has a fees of 1 lakh per hearing. So lawyer has still not raised the bill, but I know 4 lakhs bill is going to be there. So I am supposed to make a provision of 4 lakhs. So that is completeness, right? So everything that is relevant for this period is getting booked or not. So this example I gave very specifically to get into the cutoff testing. Cutoff testing for sales as well as unrecorded purchases for the purpose of purchases is very important. Reverse of it is unrecorded purchases. Someone else has sent it. I have already booked the purchase order. It is in transit, so I will receive it, or I have received it by 31st March, but I have not received the invoice. So I will have to accrue the purchase expenses. So that is the cutoff testing. Like this side 5 to 10 days and that side 5 to 10 days. What is this side and that side? That is 31st of March is my year end. 20th March to 31st March and 31st March to 10th of April. So I will do that period testing to see whether any invoice that is belonging to the later period or the earlier period is appropriately accounted for. And that is a very, very important test which actually never goes out of fashion. It is never out of fashion. Maximum it is done like that. So another thing, when we come to data and when we come to payment, we have to make payment within a certain time, right? So we have, as per the agreement, say we have to do the payment in 45 days for the purpose of purchase. So whether I have made the purchase, I have a lot of account payable balance on 31st of March. How do I do that? How do I correct it to show a better picture? Now, why do I want to show the better picture? First of all, based on the current ratio, based on the turnover ratio, based on the inventory ratio. So the 5:10 ratios, based on that, my loan from the bank may go up and down. Okay. So he may charge me a more interest or less interest, or he may reduce my CCOD facility, he may increase these things. This practically happens, right? So to manage that, what will I do is that I will write some checks, okay, and then pass some entries saying that my accounts payable has reduced, so my current liability has reduced, okay, but I don't give the checks to anyone. I will just put it in my drawer, okay, for 2 months, and it gets dishonored after 3 months, okay. So now, if this is a continuing practice, this is a problem. This is something that we have to take care of. Similar things, if we have a lot of, this is payable, and similar, if we have a lot of receivable, we need to look at the aging, how old is it, what is it pertaining to, whether proper provision is made. Then we have to go back and check whether the customers really exist or not. So when you are making a audit, when you are doing an audit procedure to test overstatement of revenue or understatement of revenue, there are certain things that you need to check in terms of existence also, right? So how do you check the existence of a customer? Is it an original customer or is it a fake customer? How do you check that? You will go to the GST website, you will go to the PAN, you will do an independent verification, you will do a confirmation procedure. So someone asked whether you'll be touching upon 505 confirmation. We will talk about that. So more the evidence that is outside, it is better. That means if you are taking evidence only from the company, it's less reliable. If you're taking evidence from outside the company, it is very much reliable. So when I'm talking about sales invoice, it also you have to do check on the company, go to the MCA website whether this company exists, go to the GST website whether this company exists by putting the GST number, whether this is a correct way, invoice or not, whether there is a trading or not, is the company generating some fake invoices, is there some fishy thing that is happening. So this is how you will also look at from a fraud angle. So these things are very, very necessary. If the account balance is piling up and I'm continuously doing sales to that party, I'm not receiving any money, you should go and ask, why are you doing this? Why are you not making a provision? Are you okay to sell to this person? Can you tell me why this is not provided for? Can you tell me why this money is not coming? Then you also have to send a direct confirmation and try and get the confirmation. If it is not available, then your antenna should further go up. That means your professional skepticism has to be at the peak. Now, what is professional skepticism vis-a-vis what is the professional judgment? So I'll come to the audit working paper. So yeah, something that I have had, this is again, yeah, this is very important. Auditor's conclusion depends on two things. It is professional judgment. What is professional judgment? Professional judgment doesn't come to you overnight, or it doesn't dawn onto you overnight, and it cannot be purchased from anywhere. It only depends, it only comes to you over a period of time by handling certain situations, by looking at certain situations, but by being with your seniors and understanding what they are doing, observing what they are doing, and actually taking note of what they are doing, that how to handle this situation professionally, whether this is proper or not. So that professional judgment is very, very important to conclude on certain of the matters. And the second important thing is professional skepticism. I have used this term already quite a number of times. Professional skepticism is something that is very important for an auditor. What is professional skepticism is, do not accept anything at the face value. Always ask the question, why, what, how, when, where did it happen? So do not see anything and believe it at the face value. When you see a FD certificate, okay, I will directly confirm it with the bank. Is the amount right? Is the percentage right? Is the accrual right? Do you hold it? Is it in your name? Is the nominee right? That is professional skepticism. So when you look at any land records, is the title in your name? Is it generated by a Gram Panchayat? Is it generated from an urban society, urban development corporation? What is the date on which it is generated? What is the latest position? This is professional skepticism. Similarly, when you look at account balance, if it is not actually coming to you, that means amount is not being received to you by you, then you have to again ask the questions. So ask the questions until you get satisfied. This is how auditor should behave. Do not, another important thing is, do not get satisfied because someone very senior is trying to dominate. So again, when you are an auditor, certain behavior of the auditees should give you a red signal, right? One is very smart people who will say, oh, you are junior, you are learning, let me help you. I have also done audit in my life, so I know how to do an audit. So what you are doing is not right, I'll tell you how to do it. And then they will give you 10 different ways to do it, you will do it their way. So basically they are evading what you wanted to do. They are easily navigating you to the way that they want, because they are very friendly and they say, oh boss, I also know, I have done it so many times, I have done it, this is not at all difficult, I'll tell you how to do it, I'll tell you how I make it, so it will be easier for you. But you know what you are asking for. If your questions are not getting answered, you listen to them, be that polite and friendly person, come back to your question, okay, thank you very much, now can you tell me this, right? That is one type. Second is everything done by a senior. I don't know, my senior does it. I don't know, my senior does it. And the senior person is so rude or so dominating, he will come and say, I'm not supposed to answer any junior person. I will only speak to so and so. So you speak to your so and then tell them that I need help over here because this person is not ready to give me any information. Right? Third person, he will listen to you, but he will not give you any answer. He will only say, okay, I will give you later, I'll give you tomorrow, I'll give you day after tomorrow, I'll give you 2 weeks later. And when your audit report signing date comes, he will be like, I have been telling you from long ago, why did you not do it? Okay. So when you are doing the audit, it is like a lot that you will add to your, patience, navigation skills, negotiation skills, and things like that. Because you will have to face different types of clients, you will have to face different types of people who will actually maybe try to get the work done in their way, maybe try to manipulate you, maybe you are. So if someone is resisting continuously to give something, that means you are actually on the right path and you are actually pressing where it hurts. So do not, leave it, and you will have to get your answers right. So I will take a pause for 30 seconds and ask if there are any questions in respect of the sales process, in respect of professional judgment, professional skepticism. Then I would like to touch upon some of the assertions actually. And with respect to the tools, I think we will come to the tools also.
Knowledge, experience, and competencies equals to professional judgment. And professional skepticism equals to what, how, when, always questioning mind.
Yes,
That is replied by
absolutely.
student. I think you have asked.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely right. Absolutely perfect, on the dot. I think that's a great explanation.
Yeah. Students, if you have any query, if you want to ask, now you may ask.
Anything in relation to accounts receivable, anything in relation to sales, anything in relation to professional judgment, professional skepticism, anything whatsoever.
Okay. I think till the time we receive, because I observe that it takes time. So
No
in
worries.
the meantime, we can go to the tools wala query. You want me to read again?
No, that's not problem at all.
Okay.
Yeah. This is something in relation to the tools. I'll go to the assertions after this because someone has asked the questions on the tools. So use of tools in audit. As of now, there are lots of tools that are available in the market. Pricing is different. It depends on what is it that you want to use. These are the most common that are used worldwide. It is not only in India, but worldwide. These are the things that are used, like ACL, IDEA, Caseware. So ACL and IDEA is something that we are using maybe from the time I qualified or during my final year of articleship as well. So ACL idea, Caseware, Teammate Analytics, Power BI, the most latest and things like the Tableau and Smart Suite. These are various tools. Now, what is it? What is tool? Okay. Tool is nothing but it can take up some of the routine checks from you and do it in a better manner. It can help you in doing the audit. It can aid you and it can actually detect certain patterns and detect actually the data will speak to you. So gone are the days when I'm doing more of sampling and actually relying on samples and actually talking only about certain set of the population. Now are the times when the entire set of data is looked at and the data talks to me more often as compared to the person, right? So when I have this analytics, so these are the main areas in which tools can be used. There are many more, but I'm given like, very, very widely used places where tools can be used. Test of controls. So when we talked about SOD, we talked about, how the SAP matches the three-way systems and things like that, and how does the compliance and everything happens. So there are tools that can actually check the workflow automation, whether the workflow is being properly followed for one item, for 100 items, for 200 items. So this is for automated control testing. So controls are three types rather. Computer dependent, automated, and manual. What is manual control is that someone is doing it physically. Computer dependent is something that is actually retrieved from the computer and then someone else is exercising some control over it. And then what is the further, the overall automated control is something that the computer is doing itself. So there are tools to check this, plug this into the system and the system will get checked whether the flow that is happening is proper or not, or there are any miss in the system. This is also possible for the compliance checker. So if you need to check certain compliances, you can plug in this tool and it can system. Now, two things can happen. There are tools that you have to retrieve the data from the client system and you have to put it in and it will work for you. There are certain systems which can be attached to the client software and you run queries and it will give you responses. Okay. Journal entry. One of the most dangerous areas is journal entry testing. You must have heard big names like Enron and stuff like that. All this collapse will happen because the TB trial balance that is extracted from the system was okay. Between the trial balance to the balance sheet, there were certain entries that were passed, which actually were very risky and it never entered the books. And there is a lot of risk that was sitting over there. Even if you hear the, some of the major corporate things in the country, there are accounting lapses that have happened over a period of time because of certain anomaly in the data. So what do you check in the journal entry? So is there a possibility to pass a manual journal entry? So everything is working through system, so why do you need to pass a journal entry? If you have to pass a manual journal entry, who authorizes it? What is the type of journal entry that can be passed? So you can query the system by running an SQL, which can be or some other tool, wherein you can ask for all the entries, manual entries that are passed on the holidays, are passed on certain dates, are passed by some people, or passed which all the journal entries that has 000 ending. So generally in examples, you will have 25,000, 35,000. So in real life, the full round figure entries don't happen very much. So you enter everything with a 00 entry, then you enter everything with a 999 ending, then you enter everything that is passed by the senior management. And then these are the exceptions that you pull out from the lakhs and crores of entry that people have, right? And that people have passed. And then out of that, then you want to figure out whether there is any risk of fraud or any anomaly that is sitting. And this can be detected by the software, which is quite easy. Otherwise, you can't skim through crores of entries to find out these things. So better the software, the better the detection rate. Sampling. Statistical sampling and audit softwares are very popular. You have to retrieve samples from the systems. You have, again, lakhs of entries. Data sometimes won't fit into your Excel sheets also. So you may have to use the SharePoint and things like that. And then you will have to retrieve the data and then you will have to retrieve a sample. Sample can be statistical sample, non-statistical sample. You can have MUS, you can have random entry sampling, you can have classical sampling, you can have attribute sampling. So there are lots of varieties of how you do the sample. These are not theoretical, but these are practical. So you put the tool, select your intervals, and it will give you a data, right? So these are the samples that are unbiased. Okay, unbiased. What is biased? Biased is people end up doing top 10, top 15, top 30. No, that is not the way. Your population has to be stratified. When I talk about stratified, that means you have to have a population that is actually more containing all the types or the all the characteristics of your population. That means you have to take a positive entry, you have to take a negative entry, you have to take a zero entry, you have to take a wrong entry, everything. So your population has to pick up everything, and that is what is helping in terms of so when you do idea or something, you will use this idea. SEL helps in this statistical sampling. Analytics, there is a lot of analytics that is possible. When we talked about sales, sales, when we do this basic checking, we don't land up anywhere in a larger company. What do you need is more and more of data analytics. How do you do and what do you visualize? So visualization platform is one thing, like a Power BI dashboard. There is a lot of visualization that can happen. What do I mean by visualization is your pie charts, your bar charts, your star charts, your peak charts, your dot charts, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of visibility that can come from the data. And what is the use? You can do a salesperson wise analysis, you can do a geography wise analysis, you can do a product wise analysis, you can do a margin analysis, you can do any analysis that you want if you have good tools. And this is on the entire population, and you can just pull out the exception. So you get more comfort as an auditor, which you cannot get by doing 40 sample, 70 sample, 120 sample, 300 sample. If your number of, for example, if a company is selling, just to take a simple example, day-to-day example, if a company is doing billing of your home electricity, right? How many homes do we have and how many bills does it generate? You cannot get a comfort by doing 120, 130, 500 samples. All you can do is test of control and data analytics. So you have to identify the anomaly in the data, you have to identify the issue in the data, and that will lead to you to proper conclusions, and that will give you larger comfort as compared to the normal sampling, vouching, ticking, which no one wants to do these days, right? So this is how you can mitigate your risk. We'll discuss more on this in the next session as well, and we'll actually try to show some of this sampling tool also if you guys are interested, and some Power BI dashboards also, if you want to see. I think that's how tools are actually overarching, and tools is the future of audit and the present of the audit also. Without tools, actually, we cannot do large company audits. It is impossible. Think of large audits like GAIL, HUL, and stuff like that, L&Ts and stuff like that. It's impossible to do an audit without the tool or without identifying the data. If I don't have a tool, where will I start? What will I see? Where will I start? It's impossible for me to see. Does that answer the question?
Yes. One more query we have received, ma'am.
Yeah.
TA is conducting audit of an entity. During the course of audit, she has made oral inquiries from head accountant regarding preparing of bank reconciliation every month, as has been let down by the management. Now, the student is asking whether inquiries as stated would provide satisfaction to her that controls in respect of preparing BRS have operated effectively.
Inquiry alone is never enough evidence. So it is written in the standard itself that inquiry alone is never sufficient. You have to do additional stuff. What is the additional stuff? Depends on situation to situation as to whether you want to do a test of control or substantive procedure or an analytical procedure. In the given case, what you are asking, it's only inquiry. So I go and ask, like, Karuna, do you do the bank reconciliation properly? You say yes. Okay, I further ask, when do you do it? Okay, on monthly basis. What do? You say, okay, fine. I put the bank statement against my, my ledger, and entries match, and then I pull out and then I close it. So, okay, who reviews it? The person sitting next to me reviews it. Okay, when does she see? No, I just ask her that whether I have done everything. Are you okay with it? And I'm okay with it. So that actually doesn't give me any comfort. That should not give me any comfort. I need to see what you're talking, whether you are doing. And also, I need to take a sample of that and actually tally whether you are actually getting into the system and doing the tally, and whether the other person is actually reviewing what you are reviewing, and all the documentation in respect to that. So we need to always have this in our mind that inquiry alone is not sufficient. Even inquiry and observation itself is not sufficient. Verification is necessary. So these are the three techniques. So ultimately I need to get comfort on the overall thing. So I won't get comfort by only asking. It is like I going to some shop and asking that, I want to buy this watch. So, is this watch good? He will say yes. Okay. But I need to understand that whether this is a good brand, bad brand, whether this has some recognition, whether it will come up for repair. So if I'm spending some money, I need to know that. So similarly, when you're doing audit, you need to know whether the actual things are happening or not, because uh, ultimately I am answerable to everyone. And then if there are mistakes, then membership is at stake.
Yeah. One more query we have received. Nathan is asking, what difficulty does an auditor face in obtaining sufficient and appropriate audit evidence during an audit in a live environment?
So this is all examples that I've given today is all from live environment only. Nothing is theoretical. So it is based on my experience, few of my friends' experience, few of my colleagues and fraternity experience. So this is something that comes to you on day-to-day business. So all these examples that I'm giving is all from the live environments that I have faced or someone else has faced. Okay. And coming to what are the difficulties, lot of difficulties. One, client never gives you the data on time. Second, you have to ask, and ask. Third, client expects that you know everything and whatever you say is the last thing in case of smaller companies. In case of bigger companies, he thinks audit is only a formality and then he has to get it done, he has to pass it. Fifth thing is there are very tight deadlines, okay? And you will have to ensure that you have to meet those deadlines. For example, for listed companies, you have only 60 days at the year end to submit your financial statements. For a very large company which actually closes its accounts on April 25th, 28th, you know how it is. How many days you will not get sleep and how many days you will have to continuously work. So that is when planning comes into picture, and that is if you plan well, you can execute well. If you don't plan well, then obviously you fall flat on your face. That is the problem that many of them face. You have a lot of compliances, which is again a issue in the live example. You have to look at everything. So if you're into valuation practice, maybe you will be looking into one thing. But when you're into an audit, you should know the latest changes in the labor code to the valuation regulation, everything you should know high level. So apart from difficulty, I think that is one of the boon, because when in the initial days of your career, if you do audit, I have seen many people transitioning from audit to valuation to due diligence to internal audit to process audit to ITRA to anything. So audit is a very solid base, where you know everything. Sorry, I'm not selling audit, but this is my personal opinion, that audit is a very solid base which actually teaches you a lot of things and also makes you very solid in foundation conceptually, because when you have to do those things and when you get into the grind of it, actually it makes you more tougher, and you actually are able to understand and put out the things more clearly over a period of time. You will understand that what is it and how much is it. So sometimes it also happens when we were juniors that we used to ask for certain things which were actually not very important, and not ask for what is important. That is when we learn. So our senior tells us that no, this is not the way, this is more important, this is less important. So first focus on this, then come to the focus on this. So that also gives us some personal perspective that helps us to grow in person also. Coming to other difficulty, yes, you have various types of review. If you are doing listed company audits, you will have NFRA reviews, you will have, other regulator reviews. If you are doing a bank, then you have RBI review, then you are doing insurance, you have IRDA review. If you're doing private limited, you have review from QRB and things like that. So it's a regulated work, but at the same time, lots of people who are doing audit are actually able to be conceptually and actually be very strong in the sense that they are able to understand many things and navigate many things, in a better manner is my view. This is my obviously personal view. So overall, there will be difficulties in everything. I think that's not very typical to audit. It is everything. And yes, you get a flavor of traveling also. That's the positive. All of us as auditors have, have had outstations, do have outstations. And, you are understanding new people also, understanding new cultures also. And it's fun. And when you discover something that is a bigger query or that is a bigger observation, you feel pride in it. That's something, you have done positive. And when you are able to get a comfort over the audit as a senior, when you grow up in life, I think that's the best thing, that you feel that, okay, I signed a balance sheet after getting some comfort and not because only someone told me to sign. So I think those are the positives as well, is how I look at. And every profession will have its positives as well as pros and cons. Anything else?
Yeah. One student is asking how to evaluate the audit evidence, regarding evaluation of audit evidence. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I talked about something at the beginning, which talked about, the triangle that you saw. I think relevance, reliability, and integrity. So when you evaluate, these are the three factors that you will have to always consider. What I am asking, whom I am asking, and what I am getting, is it relevant? So when I am doing an inquiry procedure also, I can't go and ask a office boy about a managerial decision or a profit sharing ratio, okay, or a dividend declaration. No offense meant to any designation, but he won't know. If he has heard some gossip that someone got an extra amount, maybe it is true, but that cannot be a reliable evidence. Whom you should ask for, what you should ask for, you should go to the secretarial department and ask. You get some document, see the document properly, read every word of that document, that whether it is again relevant and whether it is reliable. So to give you an example, okay, in one of the cases, there was some document, there was a dividend distribution document that was not available. So it became a big issue. It went to the, MD of the company. We were discussing the query, saying that there is no document. So the controller in that finance controller in that company comes up with a document and says, see, this is, it is already there. Sorry, we missed to give you. Okay, in that big meeting, he comes and gives us the document and he says that, sorry, we missed to give you. Okay, we looked at the document very closely. 2 minutes I told him, if you printed a backdated document, at least you should have taken care of the current company logo. So on the letterhead, when the document would have been there, it was an older logo and current logo was different. So that clearly shows whether the document is reliable or not. So see it very perfectly and see every word of it, see the date of it, see every evidence whether it is possible or not. There was another case, interesting, in one of the cases where a team was sent for the purpose of inventory verification. So this is all professional skepticism and stories of professional skepticism that we all have. There was a large stack of some goods, okay, larger goods, in the sense it was a heavier good. So it was all boxes and boxes that were kept. So they said that, okay, let us do the physical verification. 1, 2, 3, 4 row into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Okay, 5 into 10. Okay, 50 from the exterior. So these many rows. So these many, you can tick that. Okay, fine. We saw the boxes. We said, okay, let us open few of the boxes and see. Said, okay, fine. Open 2, 3 boxes, saw the goods are proper, intact. Then in the mid, like that means 5 and 10, and then it was like a big, it was a huge package. So that was a big kind of a squarish, rectangularish kind of a arrangement of the boxes. So what we did, how do we check every box within? Difficult. So we said, okay, there was a thin guy over there in the godown or the warehouse. We asked him, is this good very tough? It won't break if you step on it. He said, no, nothing will happen. I said, okay, then get on and then walk on. Okay, I said, no, it's not possible, things like that. They said, okay, fine, don't worry, but just walk on it. It's fine. You said nothing will happen to the goods. Put up a ladder, climb on it and walk on it. And I said, go on the third row and go on the fourth row and then come back on the fifth row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, he did zigzag. Fifth one, he fell down because there was nothing. It was only empty stack of boxes that were there. Okay.
Oh.
And each package was somewhere worth, 30, 40 lakhs. So those entire 4 rows in between were empty. So that's purely professional skepticism, how you apply it. Right? So you have to think of ways. Presence of mind is very important when you do such things. Cash counting. I have the example of cash counting. One of my friends went for a cash count few years ago, and then he saw that, the client had a lot of cash. Okay, because he was into some retail business, there was a lot of cash. So they said, okay, cash count. Do the cash count. 2 people you are there, you can do the cash count. And it was like a whole big box of cash. So he called from there, like, boss, what do I do? There's a lot of cash. I won't finish counting, even if I take a counting machine and I spend 2 days over here. So simple. Used an idea. What is it? He counted 3 bundles, kept it aside, and then he said, what is your book balance? He said, say, for example, 4.5 crore. I said, okay, I have counted 3. So you deposit rest of it in the bank. Anyways, you're going to do it. Show me the deposit slip in the evening. So it has to tally. I have counted 15 lakhs. So 4.5 crores minus 15 lakhs, it has to tally. So these are kind of innovative ways you will have to use what I'm saying. And all these are absolutely live and practical examples. These are not at all theoretical. And the more you go on the field, the more you interact, the more you will learn. And there are different kind of people out in the public. Someone will be dominant, someone will be adamant, someone will be intimidating, someone will be too soft, someone will be scared, someone will be scary. But you have to navigate your way and you have to get your work done. This doesn't apply only to audit, but I think for all the professions and everywhere. So these are, type of cases. There are n number of such situations. You ask any auditor, he will have hundreds of stories where maybe he has get onto a fraud, he has understood that there is something underlying, there is a wrong entry, there is something, and things like that. So this is part of life, as day-to-day part of life, and it's quite interesting. So I think we are up with the time. So I have few things that I think I will discuss in the next session, Karuna, if that is fine.
Yeah, perfectly okay. Because we are having our next session on 14th February. So
Yeah.
you can accordingly cover the same. So dear students, whatever we have learned, you have to revise, read the concepts thoroughly, and please interlink it with the whatever you have learned in today's session. So if you have any doubt, you can definitely ask in the 14th February session, right?
Yeah.
So
You can pick up some situations also if you have, and
yes.
you want to ask any specific questions. What do I do in this case of a scenario? What do I do in that case of a scenario? can ask those questions also. That's
Perfectly. Yes, definitely. So, dear students, be ready because it's very, very interesting chapter. And you have seen that how Padma Shri ma'am explained you with her example also, like box or maybe cash counting, how to apply professional skepticism. She shared with you the situations. So please for 14th February, do your homework and be here at 4 p.m. And definitely we'll take up your all the queries as you have already observed that ma'am is in between taking your queries. Right? So we are thankful to you, Padma Shri ma'am, that you have shared your insightful experience with our students because generally we observe that our students are not have not gone for practical training, so they are not able to apply the standards, and definitely accordingly they are not able to write in the examination also, so lacking in the marks as well as in the experiential learning. So just to bridge that gap, this initiative was taken, and you have very nicely explained the topic with the practical situations. And I think in first session we generally discuss more theoretical also with the practical, but it was very practical session. And in the next, lot many more examples, lot many more experiential learning will be there. So with this, thank you, Padma Shri ma'am. Thank you to technical team. Thank you to each and every student for being here, and looking forward to see you in the next session. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone who have patiently been listening and answering all the questions. I think that was lovely interaction. Thank you so much, and thanks Karuna and team as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Good evening. Bhargav ji? Yeah.